everybody thinks that the scale tells the truth. The scale tells you how much you weigh. And here's why the scale lies. Because there's not one fat depot, 3 separate fat depots, and they contribute differentially to your health. The one you can see, the subcutaneous fat, the big butt fat, as it were, as in, do these genes make me look fat? Turns out the subcutaneous fat, while potentially cosmetically undesirable, is metabolically inert. Our subcutaneous fat is there very specifically to store energy for periods of famine. And it has an innate expansive capacity to a certain point. In fact, you can basically put on about 10 kilos of subcutaneous fat, about 22 pounds of subcutaneous fat, before you will have overexpanded those cells. Those cells will then have choked off and died, will have released their grease into the area, will have recruited macrophages in to clean up the grease, and will then have released cytokines into the bloodstream, which will, by the way, go into the systemic circulation. So you have to have a lot of grease in order to get a concentration high enough to go back to the liver to activate the cytokine response in the liver and cause insulin resistance. 10 kilos of subcutaneous fat before you get sick. Depot number 2, the visceral fat, the belly fat, the beer belly, if you will, fat. Right? Now that fat turns out not to be from beer. That fat turns out to be from stress. That fat in your belly fat, visceral fat, is due to cortisol. And cortisol is because our world is now overly stressful and people are overly stressed like all the time. Turns out about 5 to 6 pounds of visceral fat. Sub-Q fat, 22 pounds. For visceral fat, 5 to 6 pounds. Now, can you see 5 to 6 pounds on the scale? Maybe, maybe not. Now let's do the third fat depot. The fat in your liver turns out to be the most egregious because it's right there. It's causing the problem right where the action is, right there in your liver. It turns out only a half a pound of liver fat, and you will end up with metabolic dysfunction, insulin resistance. Can you see a half a pound on the scale? 3 different fat depots. So the question is, what makes the liver fat? Because of this phenomenon, the de novo lipogenesis that we've been talking about. You are mainlining it right into the organ that is the most susceptible to the problem, and you can't even see it on the scale. So there are people walking around with fatty liver and don't know it. And that's why 88% of Americans now have some form of metabolic dysfunction.